The Matrix changed my life, and then over these years, it's changed so many other people's lives in really positive and great ways.
For decades, Keanu Reeves has been Hollywood's golden boy, beloved, humble, seemingly without enemies. But at 60, he broke his silence about the one person who truly broke his trust. The betrayal cut so deep that forgiveness was impossible. Can you guess who earned his only real hatred? Early life and foundation of loss. Before he became a Hollywood icon, before the world knew him as Neo or John Wick, Keanu Reeves was just a boy trying to find his place in a world that felt shaky and uncertain. Behind the calm face and gentle words lies a childhood full of deep sadness, painful instability, and emotional confusion. Keanu's early years weren't filled with fame or fortune. They were shaped by loss, silence, and a constant search for belonging. Keanu Charles Reeves was born on September 2, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon. His life started in a city that was already complex and ever-changing. His mother, Patricia Taylor, was a British costume designer who worked in the entertainment industry. His father, Samuel Nolan Reeves Jr., was a Hawaiian-born geologist with Chinese and Hawaiian roots. From the outside, it may have seemed like an interesting match. But the relationship didn't last. Not long after Keanu was born, things began to fall apart between his parents. His father struggled with personal demons, and by the time Keanu turned 3, Samuel walked out of their lives for good. That single act, leaving without looking back, would haunt Keanu for years to come. It set the tone for a childhood where things never stayed in one place, and the people he cared about always seemed to leave. After his father left, Keanu's life became a constant blur of movement and change. His mother took him from Beirut to Sydney, then to New York City, and finally to Toronto. By the age of 10, Keanu had lived in 4 different countries. He never had time to settle or feel rooted anywhere. Along with the physical changes came emotional ones. Patricia remarried multiple times. Each new stepfather brought a different kind of household, a different kind of life. Keanu had to keep adjusting, keep adapting, never knowing how long anything would last. While his mother was busy trying to keep the family going, Keanu often had to figure things out on his own. There wasn't much space for emotional talks or support. He grew up fast, but with a heavy sense of something missing, something that couldn't be fixed. No matter how many cities they moved to or how many new faces entered his life. The absence of his father was a wound that never healed. He didn't just miss a man. He missed the feeling of being seen and protected. He watched other kids with their dads and wondered what that might have been like. But no one talked about it much. The silence around his father became just another part of his life. School didn't make things any easier. Keanu had a hard time reading and writing. He was eventually found to have dyslexia, though it went undiagnosed during his early years. Teachers thought he wasn't trying. Some classmates saw him as slow or distracted, but in truth, he was fighting a battle inside his own mind, trying to keep up while also carrying the weight of emotional pain. From 1979 to 1984, Keanu attended 4 different high schools in Toronto. Just like with his home life, nothing stayed the same for long. He moved from one school to another, never feeling fully part of anything. His grades suffered. He failed many of his classes. Academic reports were filled with D's and F's. It wasn't because he wasn't smart. It was because no one understood what he was going through. Still, he found small escapes. He loved hockey and played as a goalie with serious passion. Drama class also gave him a place to express what he couldn't say in real life. But the rest of school life was a struggle. At 17, he finally dropped out, tired of the fight and searching for something real. At age 13, Keanu saw his father one last time. It happened on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. By then, years had passed since they had last spoken. Keanu hoped for something, anything, that would make the pain easier. Maybe a moment of connection, a word of comfort, or even just an apology. But the meeting was cold and awkward. His father was struggling with harmful substances and seemed emotionally distant. There was no warm hug, no deep talk, no sense of closure. It was just another painful reminder of the man who had chosen to stay away. After that, they never saw each other again. The silence between them never ended. And that silence stayed with Keanu as he grew older. These early wounds would shape the man he was destined to become. Breaking into acting. Before Keanu Reeves became a Hollywood star, he was just a young man with big dreams and a quiet hope that acting might be the way out. He had no rich connections. He had no perfect plan. But he had passion, a strong work ethic, and a deep need to express something inside him. These early years were full of small wins, hard lessons, and moments where he almost gave up. This is the story of how Keanu slowly found his place in the acting world. Keanu's first step into the media world came through a simple job. He worked as a youth reporter for CBC, a Canadian television network. It paid him $200 a week. He interviewed kids and talked about school life. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him his first taste of working in front of a camera. More importantly, it gave him hope that this could lead to something more. But even at this early stage, Keanu faced pressure to change who he was. Some agents told him his name was too unusual. They said it sounded too ethnic for Hollywood. They wanted him to change it if he wanted a chance to succeed. For a while, he gave in. He used the name Keanu Reeves for 2 years. But the name didn't feel right. It wasn't him. Deep down, Keanu knew he couldn't keep pretending, so he went back to his real name. That choice showed his quiet strength and the need to stay true to himself. At the same time, Keanu was still very serious about hockey. He had played goalie in school and was known as the Wall because of how good he was at blocking shots. He even played on a championship team. At one point, he thought about going pro. Hockey gave him focus and made him feel alive. For a while, he wasn't sure if he wanted to act or stick with the sport. Keanu's first real acting job came from a Coca-Cola commercial. He played a young cyclist and was paid $2,500. It was a lot of money for someone just starting out. He gave it his all, even if it was just a short ad. He smiled, acted, and even wore tight biking shorts. He didn't care. He was working, and that meant everything to him. Along with commercials, Keanu started acting in small theater plays. He performed in Shakespeare productions, often unpaid. But money wasn't the point. He was learning, growing, and testing himself. On stage, he could be someone else. He could let out the emotions he kept buried inside. Not all his early work went well, though. He landed a role in a Canadian TV show called Hangin' In. It seemed like a big break. But after just 4 episodes, the producers let him go. They said he wasn't a good fit. It crushed him. He started to wonder if he had made the wrong choice. He even thought about quitting acting and going back to hockey. But something inside told him to hang on just a little longer. That patience paid off in 1986. Keanu landed a role in a film called River's Edge. It was a dark story about a group of teenagers dealing with a murder. The film was intense and serious, very different from the light comedies that were popular at the time. Keanu played a quiet, troubled teen. He didn't shout or cry. Instead, he stayed calm and cold. But that made his performance more powerful. Critics noticed. They said he brought something deep to the role, something real. It was the first time people saw him not just as a young actor, but as someone who could lead a film. River's Edge won Best Picture at the Independent Spirit Awards. It became a big moment for Keanu. He proved he had real talent. He showed he could do more than just small roles or commercials. Hollywood began to take him seriously. With critical acclaim finally in hand, Keanu was ready for his next leap forward. Rise to fame. By the late 1980s, Keanu Reeves had already spent years working hard in small roles, commercials, and theater. He had tasted both failure and praise, but the world still didn't know his name. That all changed in 1989. Over the next 5 years, Keanu would go from an unknown young actor to a global star. His journey was filled with surprise hits, brave choices, and a few bold rejections that helped shape his legacy. Keanu's big break came in the form of a goofy time travel comedy that no one expected to become a hit. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was a strange project. The casting came together by chance. Keanu was paired with actor Alex Winter, and their chemistry was instant. They played two clueless but lovable high school kids who traveled through time to pass their history class. The movie had a small budget of just $10 million, but it ended up making $40 million at the box office. More than that, it became a cultural phenomenon. The phrases excellent and bogus took over pop culture. Teenagers everywhere tried to talk like Bill and Ted. The role helped Keanu create a public image. People saw him as a kind, laid-back, decent guy. That image stuck with him for years. While the film was light and silly, it gave him a strong fan base and opened doors in Hollywood. While Bill and Ted made him famous, Keanu didn't want to be stuck in comedy. Even before the film was released, he had taken serious roles to show he could do more. In 1988, he starred in Dangerous Liaisons, a period drama with Glenn Close and John Malkovich. It was a complete shift from his usual teen roles. Though he was still new, he held his own alongside seasoned actors. In 1989, he took a role in Parenthood, a comedy drama with Steve Martin. Here, he played a troubled but sweet young man dating a single mother. It was a smaller part, but once again, Keanu showed that he could bring warmth and depth to any character. By taking a mix of blockbuster and serious roles, Keanu built a reputation for being flexible, brave, and always willing to try something new. In 1991, Keanu made two very bold choices that changed how people saw him. First came Point Break, a high-octane action film where he played an FBI agent who goes undercover with a group of surfers, led by Patrick Swayze. The film was filled with wild stunts, deep friendship, and even some subtle homoerotic tension. It became a cult classic and showed that Keanu could lead a major action movie. That same year, he took an even riskier role in My Own Private Idaho, directed by Gus Van Sant. In this indie film, Keanu played a wealthy young man who works as a street hustler. His co-star, River Phoenix, played his close friend and love interest. The movie dealt with homelessness, identity, and love. It included a famous on-screen kiss between Keanu and River that surprised many at the time. Critics praised the film, calling it raw, brave, and ahead of its time. Years later, it was added to the National Film Registry for its cultural impact. It proved once and for all that Keanu was not afraid to challenge himself or take roles that pushed boundaries. In 1994, Keanu took on one of his most iconic roles in the action thriller Speed. He played Jack Traven, a cop trying to stop a bus from exploding. The movie had a budget of $30 million, but went on to make over $350 million worldwide. It was a massive hit and turned Keanu into a true A-list star. During filming, the studio panicked when he cut his hair short. They worried he wouldn't look like a typical action hero. But the gamble worked. Keanu's calm, smart, and strong performance was exactly what the movie needed. When the studio asked him to return for Speed 2, he said no. The script didn't feel right to him. He trusted his instincts and walked away. The sequel ended up being a disaster, both with critics and at the box office. Keanu's decision saved his career. However, Fox Studios were not happy. They blacklisted him for 14 years. From 1997 to 2008, he didn't get another offer from them. But that didn't stop him. Success had arrived, but life's hardest tests were still to come. Personal tragedy and loss in the 1990s. By the 1990s, Keanu Reeves had become a rising star in Hollywood. With Bill and Ted's excellent adventure, Point Break, and My Own Private Idaho under his belt, he was gaining fame and respect. But while his career was growing, his personal life was marked by deep pain. Behind his quiet smile and humble attitude, Keanu was facing heartbreak, loss, and grief that would shape him forever. One of the most meaningful relationships in Keanu's life was with actor River Phoenix. They met in 1990 while filming I Love You to Death. Both were young, talented, and deeply thoughtful. They clicked instantly. There was no ego between them, just mutual respect and a love for storytelling. Keanu saw something special in River. When director Gus Van Sant was casting My Own Private Idaho, Keanu was already on board. He believed River would be perfect for the film's lead role. To convince him, Keanu got on his motorcycle and rode 1,300 miles just to talk to him in person. That's how much River meant to him. That's how deep their friendship ran. Their bond was loyal and pure. They supported each other, trusted each other, and understood the struggles of being young stars in a tough industry. For Keanu, River wasn't just a co-star. He was like a brother. Then came the night that changed everything. On Halloween night in 1993, River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room, a nightclub in Los Angeles. He had overdosed on a mix of substances and died at just 23 years old. The news hit Keanu hard. He was filming Speed at the time, but the joy of his rising success meant nothing. He became quiet and withdrawn. Friends and co-workers noticed the change in him. He still showed up and did the work, but something inside had shifted. The loss of River left a hole in his heart. Keanu never spoke much about that night. When asked in interviews, he would quietly say, "They're too personal." And that was it. He didn't need to say more. The silence said it all. River's death was a wound he carried for the rest of his life. While dealing with personal grief, Keanu's career also hit a rough patch. In 1992, he played Jonathan Harker in Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. The film had a strong cast and beautiful visuals, but Keanu's British accent became the talk of the movie, and not in a good way. Many critics mocked his performance. They said his acting was flat and called him emotionless. Some even claimed he was void of talent. It was a harsh blow. After working so hard to prove himself, the backlash felt unfair and overwhelming. The mid-1990s were filled with more missteps. Films like Johnny Mnemonic and Chain Reaction failed to impress. They either flopped at the box office or received poor reviews. It seemed like Keanu's early promise might not last. But through it all, he stayed humble. He didn't lash out at critics. He didn't try to play the Hollywood game. He simply kept going, kept showing up, and kept choosing roles that meant something to him, even if they didn't always work. These losses would leave permanent marks, but also forge his quiet strength. The Matrix era and Hollywood exile. By the late 1990s, Keanu Reeves had experienced both the highs of stardom and the deep lows of personal loss and critical failure. Many actors in his position would have played it safe, chased big sequels, clung to the spotlight, or tried to reshape their image. But Keanu took a different path. During this time, he quietly stepped back from the Hollywood machine, made bold artistic choices, and returned with one of the biggest sci-fi films of all time. After the massive success of Speed in 1994, 20th Century Fox expected Keanu to return for Speed 2, Cruise Control. The sequel was greenlit, the studio was excited, and the pay would have been huge. But when Keanu read the script, he didn't feel it was right. It lacked depth, and he didn't see it helping him grow as an actor. So, he turned it down. Instead of shooting a big action movie, he went to Winnipeg, Canada, and played Hamlet on stage. While most Hollywood stars chased fame, Keanu chose Shakespeare. Critics were surprised, but many praised his performance. It was a quiet, risky move that showed how seriously he took his craft. Fox, however, didn't take the rejection well. They were furious that he had passed on such a big film. As punishment, they quietly blacklisted him. For the next 14 years, Keanu wouldn't be offered another role by the studio. But rather than fight it, he accepted it. He used this period to grow as an artist and focus on work that truly meant something to him. Then came the game changer. In 1999, The Matrix exploded into theaters and changed action movies forever. But Keanu wasn't the first choice for the lead role of Neo. In fact, he was far down the list. Will Smith turned it down. Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio passed too. The Wachowskis, the film's directors, finally offered the role to Keanu, someone they believed had the right mix of mystery, stillness, and strength. With a budget of $60 million, The Matrix wasn't expected to become a global phenomenon, but it did. The film earned $469 million worldwide. It won 4 Academy Awards and launched a wave of imitators. The bullet-dodging scenes, slow-motion effects, and philosophical questions about reality became part of pop culture. Suddenly, Keanu was everywhere. On posters, magazine covers, and fan forums. He didn't just play the role, he embodied it. Neo's journey from an ordinary man to a world-saving hero mirrored Keanu's own transformation. And it paid off financially, too. Between salary, back-end deals, and DVD sales, Keanu earned an estimated $250 million across the trilogy. But for Keanu, it wasn't just about money. He gave away millions to the crew and effects team, believing they deserved just as much for bringing the movie to life. This act only added to his growing reputation as Hollywood's most humble star. After the success of the first film, the pressure was high for the sequels. In 2003, The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions were released just months apart. They did well at the box office, earning hundreds of millions. But fans and critics were confused. The story became more complex. The themes were harder to follow. The emotional core that made the first film so special seemed to fade. While the action scenes were impressive, many felt the sequels lost the magic of the original. Keanu didn't run from the criticism. He admitted that the movies didn't connect with fans the way they hoped. He understood the disappointment. Still, he stood by the work, praising the ambition and the vision behind it. Despite global success, questions lingered about what came next: career resurrection and John Wick. For a long time, people thought Keanu Reeves was done. After the early 2000s, his career started to fade. Big studios were not calling him. Critics made fun of his acting. Some even said he was boring or no longer needed in Hollywood. But deep down, Keanu never gave up. He stayed quiet, worked hard, and waited for the right moment to come back. That moment arrived in 2014, and it changed everything. In 2008, something important happened behind the scenes. Fox Studios, which had blacklisted Keanu for turning down Speed 2, finally let go of The Grudge. It had been 14 years since they offered him a role. But by then, Keanu had already taken a different path. He had done smaller movies, played strange and quiet characters, and stayed out of the spotlight. He didn't care about fame. He just wanted to act. Then came a strange little movie with a simple plot. It was called John Wick. Keanu played a retired hitman whose dog, left to him by his late wife, is killed. That one act pulls him back into a world of violence he tried to leave behind. At first, people laughed at the idea. A man going on a killing spree over a dog? It sounded silly. But Keanu took it seriously. He trained hard. He learned how to fight, shoot, and move like a real assassin. And when the movie came out, it surprised everyone. John Wick was sharp, stylish, and full of action. But more than that, it had heart. Keanu played the role with quiet sadness and deep pain. You could feel how much the loss hurt him. Fans connected with that emotion. They saw a man who had nothing left, and they rooted for him. The movie made a big splash. It earned millions and started a new franchise. Keanu Reeves was back. What made Keanu's return special was how different he was from other action stars. He was not loud. He was not cocky. He didn't give long speeches or try to be funny. He was silent, focused, and deadly. But behind all the fighting was a soft soul. This was not a man full of rage. This was a man full of grief. People loved that. They saw that Keanu brought something real to the screen. He was not acting like a superhero. He was acting like someone who had been hurt, someone who had lost everything and was just trying to survive. Keanu also did most of his own stunts. He trained with real fighters and learned martial arts and gun work. His hard work paid off. Fans respected his dedication. He wasn't just pretending to be a tough guy. He became one. Each John Wick movie became bigger than the last. More people came to see him. More fans celebrated his return. And the best part? Keanu stayed humble. He thanked his fans, treated his crew with respect, and stayed the same kind person he had always been. The comeback was complete, proving that authenticity never goes out of style. The ultimate betrayal. By the year 2000, Keanu Reeves had already seen his share of pain and challenges. He had lost close friends, taken career hits, and been mocked in the media. But nothing prepared him for what happened with The Watcher, a film he never agreed to do, yet somehow ended up starring in. What made it worse was that the betrayal didn't come from a stranger. It came from someone he trusted. Keanu was shocked when he found out he had been signed up to star in a movie called The Watcher. He hadn't read the script. He hadn't said yes. He had no memory of agreeing to the project. Then he saw the contract, with his signature on it. That's when he realized something terrible had happened. Keanu's signature had been forged. And even worse, the person responsible was someone from his own circle, a close friend, someone he trusted. This wasn't just a business mistake. It was personal. It hurt deeply. Keanu could have fought back. He could have taken it to court, made a public scene, or walked away from the film. But he didn't. Instead, he chose to honor the fake agreement and go through with the movie. He later said he didn't want to waste years in a legal battle. At the time, it was easier to just show up, do the job, and move on. So he filmed The Watcher. The movie was a disaster. It cost $30 million to make and only made $29 million at the box office. Critics hated it. It scored just 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviewers called it dull, lazy, and forgettable. Keanu didn't hide his opinion either. He called the film terrible and admitted it was one of the lowest points in his career. Even after everything, Keanu never named the person who forged his signature. He never exposed the friend who betrayed him. He stayed silent, even though he had every reason to speak out. But the experience changed him. From that moment on, Keanu became extremely careful with contracts. He paid close attention to every detail. He also became more guarded about who he let into his inner circle. It was a painful lesson, one about trust, betrayal, and the cost of being vulnerable. The wounds may have healed, but the memory stayed with him. This betrayal taught him lessons about trust that would last a lifetime. Life philosophy and character. Keanu has faced more loss than most people can imagine. He lost his father, his best friend River Phoenix, his newborn daughter, and his girlfriend Jennifer Syme. Each time, he stayed quiet. He didn't seek revenge or look for pity. He grieved, forgave, and moved forward. But when it came to the Watcher, something changed. He couldn't forgive the betrayal. Not completely. It wasn't just about a bad movie. It was about being stabbed in the back by someone he loved. That kind of pain lingers. Throughout his career, Keanu never chased fame. He refused to change his name to something more marketable. He never faked an accent just to get a role. Instead, he chose projects that mattered to him, even if they didn't make millions. People noticed. Fans saw a man who stayed real, a man who stayed kind, even when life gave him every reason not to be. Keanu has always been private. He rarely talks about his personal life. He does not use tragedy for attention. What he does show, though, is loyalty. His friendship with River Phoenix, his support for crew members, and his quiet acts of kindness all reveal his true character. After decades of silence, Keanu's rare confession shows even the calmest souls carry hidden scars. It's a reminder that fame doesn't erase betrayal. Want more untold Hollywood truths? Like, share, and subscribe for the stories stars rarely reveal.